Hey guys, what's up? It's Mackenzie Criswell here, and today I am bringing you another tutorial, and it's actually been a while since I've done one, so let's hope this one is good. Okay, so this tutorial is basically about a blog post that I put up a while back about how I did a lot of the graphic design for our new Legacy Films website actually inside of After Effects versus Photoshop or any other program that I might have used to design it. And the post was pretty vague. It was just basically a bunch of screenshots of how I did it, and you can learn a little bit from it, but I thought maybe we could take a little bit of a more intense look at it in a video form. And we'll see how that works. So here we are inside of After Effects, and this is actually supposed to be set to 32 bits per channel, and maybe that'll do the trick. Alright, there we go. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to just create a new comp. Click this button right here, and we'll make it 1877 by 6354, which is really random. And what I like to do personally is just make it one frame long. You can leave it to have a value of any type of time that you want. I just personally like to make it one frame long, and I set that to a quarter, whatever. Frame rate obviously also not important. So this is going to be our ice background. What is this, like version 3? It's like version 3.5 or something. I don't know. I've done this so many times now. Anyways, we're going to create that new comp, and basically the most important thing to remember is to make sure that you're working in 32 bits per channel. It's basically 32 bits per channel just handles light in a much more realistic way compared to 8 or 16 bits per channel, and we're going to need that type of light handling for some of the things that we're going to do with this background that we're creating. So make sure we're working in 32 bits per channel or float, and other than that, just download the textures and you should have just about everything you'll need. So okay, now the first texture we're going to be using I can't actually give to you because it comes from Element 3D. It's one of their textures from, I believe, the Pro Shaders, I believe is what it's called. It's this ice diffuse background, and it looks really cool, and so I just used it for this. And we can turn off the alpha channel here. Okay, so actually we're going to leave the alpha channel on. So what I'm going to do is just come up to the map, the masks, and click on the ellipse and just double click. That will create us a perfect circle around the edges of this ice background. And honestly, there's two different ways you can do this. You can feather it out and lower the expansion and just spread it all over the place. But the cool thing about this texture is it is in fact actually built for 3D. So what that basically means is that it can in fact loop across surfaces. So just a simple way that we could do that would be to duplicate it, Control D, and choose oh yeah, just a tip. Normally I just use the keyboard shortcuts, S for scale, P for position, T for opacity, and R for rotation to bring these up, but you can actually just click this arrow and bring down the transform properties. Just a quick tip. And anyways, back to what we were doing. You can move it over the position until it lines up. So then we would just take it, choose Control D again, choose the position on these two, slide it down. Let's see, come in here, zoom in, make sure we're closing the gap. Okay, looks good. Okay, so now we have all of our textures lined up here, and we can just hit the tilde key to see them all, select all of them, hit P to close down the position, and then hit Control A to select them all again, and just choose a layer, pre-compose, and call this maybe ice pre-compose. Make sure that you're moving all of the attributes of this composition over. So move all attributes, make sure that is selected. And so now we have it all pretty organized here, and we have our nice ice background to start working with. So the most basic part of this effect is just to duplicate this one more time, double click on the masked ellipse tool up here on the first layer, and shut that off for a second, and then come down to the opacity on the second layer and lower it down to about 60, 70, somewhere around in there. And then come back up to the top layer, change the mask to subtract, and just simply feather it out so that we have some edges that are in full opacity, and then as we get closer and closer to the middle, it loses opacity. And that'll work fine. So now we have this all selected and good to go. What I'm going to do is bring in another texture that I created a while ago. So it's called something, let's see here, oh, here it is. It's just a texture that basically has like a night kind of thundery sky up at the top, and then it fades to black, and it's black all the way down. So we'll just bring in this texture and drop it below everything, and that looks good, but we want it to kind of poke through the ice and really light up and make it seem like it really is alive underneath there. So what we're going to do is select the layer and come over here and type in exposure, and we're going to find the exposure color correction effect and just drop it on there. We're going to bring up the exposure a lot, and then we can bring down the gamma correction some, and just play around with it until it looks about like what you want. I like it kind of looking like that, and that looks good. And the cool thing about this is if we were to switch back over to 8 bits per channel by just holding down Alt and clicking on the 32 bits per channel, it'd look really flat, and that basically would have been pointless. Same thing in 16 bits per channel, but when we switch over to 32 bits, we get some very nice light reactions. So one more thing that I did that's not necessary is I just created a new solid. Call this flare, and I went and changed the mode to add, and then I went to Effect, Video Copilot, Optical Flares, and let's see here. Okay, let's get this window in here so that you can actually see it. Okay, you're not going to be able to see this whole window, but whatever, we'll make it work. So I'm going to come down to my custom presets and to the legacy presets folder, which is actually available for download, and I'm just going to choose the Cinemayer lens flare, which looks pretty cool and you know, has some interesting properties to it. And what I'm going to do to the flare actually is add a lens texture image to it, and that looks good. Okay, so now we have our lens flare in here, and what I'm going to do is just bring it down to the very bottom. I'm going to brighten it up a lot so that I can see what's going on. Should actually probably bring down the brightness and just bring the scale of it up. Okay, and for the flare, we're also going to want to do that exposure effect. Just bring up the exposure, down on the gamma a little bit. And let's see, let's work with it a little bit. Up on the exposure, down on the gamma, down on the exposure, up on the gamma, and then actually down on this quite a bit. Okay, and that adds an interesting look. Flare. And just add some cool stuff and kind of another sudden extreme bright spot at the bottom like we have at the top, and that looks cool. And the interesting thing about this is we're basically pretty much done already. The only thing that I did different was I came out here to some elements from Action Essentials, and I added some in. So we'll take a couple of ground cracks. Let me find the right ones. Okay, so this ground crack, and there was another one that I used. Oh, this one. And we could just take them both and set the blending mode to overlay. And now we have some nice cracks, and I just added them kind of in random places. I duplicated them. I duplicated them a couple of times, maybe scaled them down a little bit, rotated them a little off, and just kind of put them wherever I thought would work, and that should be good for now. And I just basically did the same thing with a couple of bullet holes. Just a couple of these metal bullet holes, grabbed a few of them, drag them out here, move them around, and set them again to overlay. And then eventually you end up with something like this, with a lot of bullet holes, cracks. Looks very grungy. We have nice lens flares and whatnot all over the place, and it just looks cool and makes a great, and is great to use for website backgrounds and the type of thing that we're using it for on our Legacy Films website. But anyways, that's about it for this tutorial. But anyways, just remember to check the YouTube website. I put up new stuff all the time. I actually just put up this video yesterday, which is a cool kind of rayfire test with a ball basically hitting a cube that has fallen, and it's really cool. Just a very simple rayfire test to check out. I've uploaded quite a few videos recently. Something I've been working on is a HUD heads-up display, and that's cool, I guess. You know, I mean, whatever. It looks pretty cool. Whatever. Also, don't forget to check out the Legacy Films website. Here on, you can see that texture actually put into place in here in the background. It's really cool. We don't have too much of it done yet. We've got basically 2 pages, the contact page and the actual home page finished, but you know, whatever. You can check it out and see some cool stuff. It's legacyfilmsmms.com. And also, one more thing I want to tell you about is a fundraiser that we're doing right now to try and make a new short film. It's called Writer, and I've almost done writing it, and we're just trying to get some money to make it happen. It's on Indiegogo. There'll be a link in the description of the video to check it out and help us out. We have a detailed list down here of everything that we need the money for. We're not asking for a lot, just a little bit, and so far a little bit is what we've gotten. Anyways, this is Mackenzie Criswell, and I'll see you next time.
Let me just step right in. I got things to advance. I'm an innovator, baby, change the world. 4 to 500 before you kiss the girl. I'm a pink, you're a nerd. I'm slick, you're cheesy. Beating you is apple too easy. I make the product that the artist chooses, and the GUI that Melinda uses. I need to bring up some basics.
And what then, zombie? F you. You know, I'm really not sure what this has to do with anything, but seriously, I mean, come on. I thought we had evolved. Oh, God.
Watch it in your company.